That was you, Sean, right?
Yep, that was me. Nobody else is secretly watching us. How's the week been for everybody? Did,
Busy,
did any of
busy.
you see, yeah, did any of you see the reality distorting videos from Google I/O yesterday?
Mm-mm.
No.
Just they're so just their ability with AI to like make sound and imagery that that you cannot tell, right? Could
Mm.
not tell that this is not real footage anymore. Um, which is a little scary and weird.
It
But
is.
yeah. And then yeah, I mean just in terms of like our own kind of set of updates, I think we're not covering that this week. Well, we're covering the bulk stuff in large part today. Um, but this is the infrastructure that you guys will use when you'll see us over the next couple weeks better support all of the new Google kind of functionality that was announced yesterday. And so you'll be able to kind of compare in later weeks the best of OpenAI versus the best of the latest and greatest from Google. Um, and it'll be interesting to see both from a performance perspective and a cost perspective what that ends up doing to all of you guys as in each of your use cases. But that will be coming up. Um, so as we think about later sessions, this sort of like optimizing which AI models to use to actually achieve your goals is definitely going to be there. But anyways, with that, well, we'll give people a couple of minutes. Any other interesting observations in the world, updates that anybody wants to share? Okay. We have everybody filter in.
Okay,
So,
if you're still waiting, if some people want to quickly scan this QR and join the WhatsApp group, I mean, I'll share it again in the end, but I think we were just finding that we wanted to converse and connect with you guys more, and perhaps email has become too much of a formal wall.
yeah.
And those of you who can join, please do. City of Seattle team, we know that it's a bit of a block, but Rob and I have been in conversation and we're trying to figure out a way to forward all of these messages to your emails so you can keep in touch with everyone as well.
And so the idea here is this will have a little more chatter. If you guys get blocked and want to just reach out, feel free to do so. If it becomes too much, and if you're welcome to kind of mute it. But we have found, given other cohorts and other stuff we've done, is it's helpful to have the chatter, and it's helpful to be able to show off, small wins as you guys come out with some new version and you want some internal feedback. This is a great place to kind of share those things and thoughts and observations too. Okay, with that, Ambika, you want to take it away?
Yes, thanks, Sean. Hi, how's everyone feeling? Like, how are things going? Was the preparatory video useful to help you figure out your golden Q&A? Yeah, I can see some nodding heads, so I'll kind of feel like, I'm gonna like focus my eyes on you like they do in stand-up. So, okay, so we'll kind of get started on how to get your bulk evaluations going, what it means, and we'll just kind of set the agenda a little bit. Um, so we'll do an overview of what we've learned so far and how it fits into the Copilot pipeline. A quick check-in with all of you. You can just round robin like a few lines about how you're feeling, where you're at, where you're blocked, so we can keep notes of that. Sean will share the IOM demo, and then we'll dig deep into how to set up the eval and how it can be useful to iterate and improve your bot. So overall, our goals are that we've kind of able to test it internally or with few people. We present all of this and whatever our observations are, we can keep them. And now that we've got the golden Q&A prepared, okay, I forgot the last point, to run the eval. So that would be the end goal. Sorry about that. So What we've learned so far, I'll just kind of do a recap from our earlier sessions. We were like, okay, so this is a co-pilot and the nurse has a problem. She asks a question. You have a user input, a knowledge base, an LLM tool call, and an output. And how that charts for us is quite simple. You can put in your input through voice notes, audio, other audio, text, photos. We have a knowledge base, and then the LLM summarizes it and it gets translated and goes back to the nurse as an answer. And what this means for us is we've kind of done inputs. We've looked at the knowledge base. We've chosen LLMs. Tool calling comes up next session. We've also seen how the outputs come out to be. And today we are kind of going to focus a bit on the evaluations part. And then the next session, we'll be looking at observation and analytics. So I'll stop sharing the screen now, and perhaps we can just do a quick check-in with everyone. If someone wants to go first and then nominate another team, that would be great. Just a quick 2 lines where we are at, where we are blocked, how we can support you, and what's been exciting for you in this so far.
Or not exciting.
Or not exciting, or frustrating.
Tom, you want to kick us off?
Sure. So we have sort of added a lesson context for a specific lesson and a knowledge base of a course guide. We shared that with a small group of users to ask very specific questions about a very specific lesson. The results overall were really good. There were definitely some hiccups, like it tended, if the question was sort of vague, it tended to rely on the course guide instead of going to the lesson context. So we're trying to like figure out how to make that work. And we do sort of want to understand how it can render math better when math is part of the response that it gives, whether that's an image or a graph or LaTeX. And our sort of next step is to put in a broader chunk of content from a unit, and then go from there.
Cool.
Yeah, it's been fun.
And then once you pick, who goes next?
I'll go with City of Seattle. Let's go, Rob.
You want to, Angela, or do you want me to?
Either one.
I nominate
Okay.
you.
Sure. We're actually making progress. We have finally kind of locked in the validation of our golden FAQs. So we're making a lot of progress there. We had a bit of a slow start getting our team involved, but we've got the folks together now. We've got our prompts created. And so we are now going to be having those next discussions of who we need to get involved to start doing some of that testing, listening to how that language is coming back and how it's rendering. And we'll have to also incorporate some of that feedback loop as well with anyone that we're involving in that testing piece. But we are starting to engage with our business partners. So yeah, progress is slow, but it's happening.
Good to hear.
Let me also say thank you to Sean and Ambika for the one-off session. I'd recommend that is super useful because we had some specific questions about IVR and how those prompts can work in the multi-language. And they were super helpful last week, Friday, as we were going through that because we speak so many languages in Seattle. So we've gone through uploading our materials, the voice and the context actually are really useful. So I was pleased to see that. But now we get to kind of dive into and then test across some of those different languages and contexts. And then we've reached out also to our Department of Neighborhoods to say what community groups might be able to help us test as well.
Awesome. Who goes next, Rob?
Let's see. Sirium looks like a nice person. Or Bala? Sorry.
I'm going to ask Shimona to share the update for
Yeah.
Teach for India. Yeah.
Yeah, for Teach for India, we've actually had a lot of fun doing this. It was a very, very interesting process. We got the chance to roll it out to a couple of our teacher coaches. They were recently teachers and just became teacher coaches. So they had a lot of fun just asking a lot of questions and getting responses. To the context and to the instructions page, we also added like certain guidelines and guardrails, and I think the bot was able to provide those answers really, really well. Uploaded a lot of knowledge documents. I don't know if there's like a limit to upload, like how much we can upload, but the answers were really specific and really like it just made a lot of sense, which I would not expect from a bot, to be honest. But what they did share, what the teacher coaches did share was that they would like to have it. I mean, like ChatGPT knows your history and knows your entire context. So they would like to have their answers or their chat history saved. I don't know if that's something that we'll explore further. And also the deeper nuances of like what a teacher might actually be asking that you might receive like from a human being. I think that is something that they said was slightly missing. So just deeper nuances and just saving chat history so that the bot knows who this person is and maybe like the context of the classroom, where kids are at different grade levels and things like that. Yeah, but it's been a lot of fun.
We can follow up on both of those. There are both technical and prompting solutions that others have done. Who goes next? Shadi, why don't you kick us off? Or somebody from the Office of Immigration or Migration.
Sure. Thank you, Sean. I mean, thank you so much for deploying what we started on the WhatsApp. I have sent an email, and management, like top management, they were very excited, and they were sent a congratulation and pushing people to contribute more. And I told them that we need feedbacks at this stage. We need as much as we can feedbacks on the golden question and answers, especially on the answers now, because we have different doctors, different nurses, and different frontliners. At some point, we have SOPs, but for some questions that are in the middle, in the gray zone, I need a consensus from everyone. That's why it's taking a little bit more time. I have to finalize this week. Another thing that I'm trying to do is collecting all the GPS point of health facilities existing in Tunisia. And the aim is to, for example, I don't know if it's feasible through WhatsApp, like a question will ask to enable the GPS location of the person who's texting, and then automatically will provide them the nearest health facility based on what I mean. Also, I need to categorize them as a primary healthcare, let's say, and also teaching hospitals. So it depends of the request. The LLM or the model will like provide the set potential or like the closest health facilities. Just to mention, I have been discussing this, that should not be considering emergency cases, because this is like a public health information chatbot, and we don't want to have like issues like when people are really in a critical situation and relying on this. I'm thinking with you guys. Still, we don't know how to figure it out, how to do that in, let's say, in reality. So we don't have liability of like assuming that this person is in a critical situation, and the app is giving them like the wrong answer, or it's not providing them like something which is like not close enough to save their lives. Another thing is, like I said, a lot of languages are not, we don't have translators here. A lot of local languages within sub-Saharan African countries, that is Susu, Bambara, Malenke, Yoruba. There's a lot of languages and even different dialects. So also trying to push to get the experts' answer also translated, because I only have the questions that are translated. I have been attaching. I tried to push the app, the chatbot to the maximum, and I got like an error message. I did a screenshot for you guys. I just mentioned that. I don't know what is that. It just say Facebook blah 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 error. I don't know what is that. Sorry, I ran into an error while processing a request. Please try again. So I don't know what I have done. asking the chatbot a lot of questions, maybe in a short time. Sharing this with you to ask if this is usual, unusual, or what might be the error. Yeah, that's it from our side, Iwan. Thank you, everyone.
Just two quick comments. One, if you guys do get any errors, just please send those over to us. Obviously, we'll try to address that as fast as possible. One thing we did run into with the city of Seattle, which at least we fixed for them, and we might need to flip a switch for everybody else, is there's was some issues of like throttling that we were doing on our side that at least for the city of Seattle we've turned off. I think if anybody else sees a thing that says, oh, like you've made too many requests or something, just let us know. And there's some buttons, right, that we can basically turn off and on that one. And then the only other thing that I would say is for the folks that are beginning to get to the point where you're getting real feedback, even if it's at the initial stage from people that you would consider users or user adjacent, we have a whole analysis process where you can look at what people are asking, you can categorize those things. And I just wonder, we might want to bump that up, given it seems like 2 or 3 of you are at that stage, so that you can begin to sort of get a sense of what are people talking about. If one of those emergency scenarios is coming through, you could highlight that and say, oh, 5% of our messages look like this, and this is what the conversations look like, and maybe we should be handling those differently. And that's where the iteration process, based on what people are actually saying to these things, begins to happen and gets really interesting. So I think especially for you guys in the city of Seattle folks who are beginning to have some real people begin to use this, I think those analysis tools will be helpful so that you can kind of intelligently iterate. Okay, who else do we've got? Who else am I forget? Anybody else, Medic or Medtronic folks that are here that want to give an update? So I think the last two.
I don't think they've joined. Munush was here, but I think he dropped off.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, we have another session for those folks in Asia too. Okay. So take it away, Ambika.
All right. Okay. Thanks everyone for those wonderful updates. It's really good to know all of this and keep sharing on the WhatsApp group as well. So we know where you're at, where you're blocked, all of that. I think between Sean, me, and Steve, we cover all times like the British Raj in the in olden days. So anytime we have someone's awake between the 3 of us, so we'll always be available to answer questions. I'll go back to the slides now, which is here. Okay, so thanks for the check-in. So today we're looking at bulk runs and evaluations. Can you just give me a little bit of a thumbs up if the prep video was okay? Were you able to follow it? Were there any places you were feeling blocked? Okay, thanks, Rob. Thanks, Shadi. Open up team, was it okay for you guys? Did you get the video? Did you not?
I don't remember seeing it. This is about doing the bulk runs and evaluation tool?
Yeah. Just prepping the data.
Cool. Actually, is that the one on the main site?
Yeah, it is there as well.
With Sean's face on it, or maybe I'm thinking the wrong video.
I sent, okay. I think we need to figure out this email piece, but let's go ahead with it. But I think you guys have a sense of how to set it up. But in general, a bulk run evaluation tool that we have got on Gooey is a separate workflow from the Copilot. It's a separate tool, and its core task is exactly to do a bulk run. It takes all of your questions in one Google Sheet, and it uses your Copilot workflow, and it spits out all the answers. So you don't have to do it manually, especially when you get into like hundreds and hundreds of questions that you want to test. So, and where the evaluations are really useful is to make sure your prompts are doing well. Like today, Shimona mentioned how some places it was getting blocked and how the prompting could change that. It'll help your data retrieval. It'll help what language models you need to use, how, maybe you've got the best model and it's answering really well, but it's taking way too long and users are dropping off. So like looking at latency, evaluating how well the answers are coming through, and then of course price and regression tests as well. And we're able to do this in scale with the bulk runner. Of course, as I mentioned, you can choose between the LLMs, the TTS, the SCT translations, all of that, improve your Copilot responses, assess your time costs, and check regressions. So to prep your golden data, I think golden Q&A is pretty simple. You just have to have your questions, your golden answers, and the citation URLs attached to it. And then, of course, if you are doing audio, like I think Shadi and perhaps City of Seattle as well, you need to have a separate column for prepping the audio as well. What basically happens with the bulk run is that it takes your golden Q&A set and it runs it across all of your test copilots, and the generated answers are then assessed, evaluated in context of how well they have done in context of this particular golden answer set. So here in this diagram, say generated answer set 2 got a score of 100%. That means that this bulk run, this copilot test did the best versus the first one, which got an 80, and the third one, which got a 60. So of course, you have to get this kind of data set ready. And now I'll just run you through a scenario where we're running the exact same copilot. One is running on Gemini and one is running on GPT-4o, and how they work out. So if you all want to head over to Gooey.AI/bulk, I can just show you what that looks like. Hopefully my screen is still sharing. Yeah. Okay. So you might come across a page that looks like this, where you can see that it has these several copilot runs, which, sorry about that, where it's got several copilot, so I'm so sorry, guys, it was terribly distracting. So we've got this several copilot runs, which are working across the same set of Q&A, which is these 5 questions about a farmer has asked about growing potatoes or like white flies on chili crop, etc. And if you see here, you'll see that it says farmer chat via Gemini 2, farmer chat via Claude 3.7, GPT 4.1, Mini, Nano, and the newest Llama model, which is Maverick. And this basically means that we made several Copilot saved examples, like what we've been doing in the last few sessions. And we got all of this information similarly added. But where we distinguish it is that we changed out the model. All the knowledge database is the same. Only thing that differs is the model that we've chosen. And it's the same 5 questions that we asked it. And then we did a comparison of how well it answered across those 5 questions. So before we go into the more granular bits of it, you'll notice that we've got a ranking, almost a score here. So you see that the GPT 4.1 seems to have scored the highest, whereas 4.1 Nano was like the lowest at 30%, 32%. So how this works is that it runs your question. Every row gets run by every single Copilot example that we added here. And then what the evaluator does is that it adds all of those answers here in this very long CSV sheet. And then at the very end of this sheet, sorry if it's feeding a bit too fast, you can please let me know and I'll slow down. At the very end of the sheet, you'll see that every single question has been given a mark, which is when compared to the golden answer set shared by the expert. So say for question 1, the first chatbot got a 0.6, whereas the second one from Gemini got a 0.8, and then so on up till whatever was the last question. And then it aggregates that answer and it gives you this little chart which gives you how this works. So if we were to run this for you, I mean, for the ease of this, we just delete all of these. Let's just get ourselves a clean bulk run to try it all out. And since you are all in your own workspaces, when you type in your particular saved Copilot, it will turn up like this already in the drop down. So I don't have to find that bulk run and add it here, but even if I just type it, it should be here. So say, for example, if I were in City. Sorry, City guys, I always use this as an example, but you have two copilots, so maybe it's easier for me.
Sorry, I think you have to reload the page. And
Oh,
because you didn't save it. Because you didn't save it, it's okay.
Never.
All of those silly things come back. But for the rest of you, you should see your thing in the top one or three. And then if you type the name of it, it'll come through.
So here SEA bot SMS or whatever that is. Okay, I'm gonna go back to my my workspace so I don't mess up anyone's credits. I just go to my history. And okay, so I've got these two runs. One is Gemini 2.5 and the other one is running GPT-4 with audio. And I just put in 4 questions. I'd encourage you also to try doing it with a fewer set of questions to just understand how the tool works. And then you can just go crazy with as many as you want. And then the 2 pieces that I need to do are this is an audio one. Let me just, I have so many runs that sometimes I'd open the wrong one. Yeah, it's perfect. So here I've got about 8 questions. You'll already notice that there are 2 ticks here which say output text and run URL. But we still need to tell the bulk runner which is the particular column that needs to be used as the input for the questions. So you all would have seen that it's coming up like this. You've got a column that says question. So if you open this show all column section, there should be an input prompt and you just need to click on question there. Shadi, I think if you're using audio, don't click this, keep it as dash 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 and click input and then click on your audio column to add that here.
I mean, in case there are questions and audio, we prioritize audio in this case.
Yeah, you can run them. You probably want to set up 2 different bulk runs for that, actually. So set up one that tests on audio and then one that tests on just English alone. And that'll allow you to kind of test them independently.
Makes sense.
Or sorry, it tests on text alone, not English. Yeah.
So I mean, if you got the text ones there, let's just do that because we're all doing it together. Maybe that's easier. Right. And then at the very bottom of this, lot of settings, if you go down, you'll notice that there's a section called your evaluation workflow. So this basically chains our evaluator workflow to the bulk workflow. And after the whole bulk run has happened, it evaluates each of them, which we saw as all of the scorings that we did. So currently, we've already got a Copilot evaluator, which you can run as is. Hopefully this is showing up for everybody.
You probably don't need to change this one.
Yeah, it's the same.
If later on, if we want to, we can. And so this is basically all it's doing, this Copilot evaluator, is it's really just doing a simple analysis that says, hey, how similar is the answer that your bot created semantically in terms of its meaning in English to what the golden expert answer should be? And then it gives it a score between 1 and 0, depending on that answer.
Okay.
Just one thing I just want to make sure everybody has. So, Ambika, if you scroll up, is that you should just make sure that your golden Q&A is listed there, up at this, gray box at the top. And so that's a very key and important step that I just
I'm
want to make
so
sure that
sorry.
we didn't forget. So your golden K, that document needs to be there.
So you can, yeah, let me just show it to you as well. So mine is here. Sorry, Sean, I have to take this. It's my dog. Just give me a second. Sorry.
Sure. I can take over. So can you just stop sharing? Yeah, sorry, I'm gonna replace that. Are you guys seeing this? So yeah, what I was taking over from, because I just want to make sure that everybody in that part, like if you've got an Excel sheet or ideally a Microsoft Excel sheet or a Google Doc, because it's just easier to edit it, just add that link in and then just make sure that is public. And so basically the reason for that is once all this is set up, then you don't really have to touch everything that we're doing here. Once it's set up again, you can just add more golden questions and then come back here and hit run and it'll reevaluate everything. And so it's generally easier if you're adding in a link to like a Google Sheet or a Microsoft Office 365 document rather than a CSV, just because you don't have to then re-upload the CSV every time. And ultimately, what are we trying to get at the end of this? We're trying to see how well, in an automated sense, how well does your bot basically mirror the answers that you wish from your golden answers that it would give, and then to do that in an automated way so that every time we make a change, we can say, great, are we doing this better? Did we have regressions? Does one model, one prompt, or any differences you have between your various versions, how well does it work against your golden set?
Okay, sorry about the interruption. Yeah, so basically now we can hit run and you'll notice that it'll refresh the right side of the page, and each question that you had added along with the golden answer come up, and then it shares each of the answers from the particular workflows that we selected. So here GPT-4o is giving us an output text and Gemini is giving us another one. And then once it runs it across all of the rows that are there, it will evaluate it and give the rating of which is better.
One thing also, given that this can take a while, just as a technique while you're sort of setting it up, is in that Google Sheet, I will oftentimes in the first tab just put, say, 2 or 3 questions rather than 10. So, and basically our bulk runner only takes from the first tab. So whatever tab you have listed as the leftmost tab here, it'll run that one. So then, Ambika, just for the sake of argument, just go ahead and remove rows 4 through 10. So if you remove that, then it'll only run it on 3 questions. And so that allows you to just kind of do some basic testing to make sure everything is honky-dory. And then when you're ready for kind of running it in something that takes a longer time, then you can basically just switch out that other tab to add them all in.
Yeah. So sorry, shall I continue?
Yeah. The only thing that's a little strange here is you should be getting only 2 answers. And so that's a part of how it's rendering it is a little funky.
Just open an existing one that I've done, perhaps.
Yeah, and sometimes I've noticed that it has to do with it's probably best in your golden answers to, that first tab and then just remove ideally everything that is not your audio, your question, or the golden answer. Sometimes if there's additional columns or other things in there, our thing can get a little confused. As in the end, you want something that looks like this. where it's only giving you 2 rows and it allows you to compare the 2 runs. Where it says aggregate mean. And then you get this nice bar graph to say, okay, which of these 2 comparative workflows is better?
Okay. So while this is running, is it okay if I talk to you guys, or do you want to still need a few minutes to set up your thing? Let me know how you're feeling.
To do these comparisons, you need to save different versions of your Copilot to compare
Yes.
each other.
Yes.
Okay.
Correct. In this one, you have 2 different ones that you're comparing. You can run that. You should be able to run it without it, and then it'll just sort of give you, hey, this is where I stand today.
Right. But then if you make changes, you would want to
you'd only do it to work.
Save those changes and run against each other.
Yes, so you're sort of making those changes against each other. If you had another version that you liked, you could have just the top one be your published version, and then if you click on the yellow pencil, yeah, where you just say add. No, you keep this one, which is like the version that you have as your last one, and then you can click on the pencil and literally just paste in the URL of your new one here if you want to. So if you have like a run that you did that you're not sure if you want to save that, you can just push in that run, and then you can then compare those 2.
I'm seeing that the question doesn't seem to be mapping to the input.
Can you share your screen, Doug?
Sure, yeah. Oh, I've got so many windows, sorry.
So that mapping is done as Ambika showed in the there's a little drop down where you have to say this is how it maps.
Right.
We are working on making that automatic, but we haven't done it yet.
Let's see.
Are you sharing your screen then?
Not yet. Sorry, I needed to find the right window. There we go.
Great.
Okay.
And so you scroll down. And then no, you went too far. I know we should make this clear. Where it says text input, yes. Now map that to question. Yeah, and that's it. And then if you hit run, it's now mapped.
And then this is output
those
text.
You can just leave. Those are just adding additional columns in there, but at the time being,
okay.
If you want to see like runtime or price, you can see those in there, but we'll get to those next time. So if you just hit run now, it should do it.
And then if we have, we don't have to because we're providing context in the prompt, we don't need to add that to the spreadsheet, right? That's already
correct. It's
we can just assume that same context in the spreadsheet question answers. I mean,
cool. Yes. And there are, for you guys in particular, given that you'll be shoving some like JSON context of like the page it's on and other things like that, you can go ahead and add in that JSON as like an additional column here, and then you can map it to one of the variables below. We can do a session on that, but if you're adding in, and for the Teach Up folks, this will also come up, which is if you want to give that additional classroom context or something like that to the bot, you can put in another column of, hey, this is the JSON describing that teacher or the page that it's on. Here's the question that I'm assuming they're asking. Here's what I think what a good answer would be. So you just add in another column for that, and then you do the mapping in that column selector, and your variables should appear there.
So presumably if you wanted to start adding history, you'd have to essentially save that out into your own database or some storage and have a user account basically that maybe that history is saved into, since it's not going to be automatically populated in a saved ChatGPT.
You mean the conversation history?
Yeah, conversation history. So
yeah,
you'd
we
want
have
to
a
store that
separate
yourself.
example. There's a separate example for that.
Okay, cool.
I'll let it to you in an email.
Yeah,
great.
It's a little more complex, and this is pretty complex as it is. And so, yeah, we'll get there. Yes,
okay.
And so I apologize a little bit. This is the kind of closer to the metal stuff. So we know this is a little bit there's some UX here that needs to improve in time, but it does answer the question ultimately of, is this workflow better than the other one?
Right.
And again, once you get this set up, you shouldn't really need to muck with this much. You should just be able to, again, change your golden Q&A in the Google Doc and hit run. So right now your mean score is 8.
Which it's red, so that must not be very good.
It's pretty good in terms of the score itself, and then you can kind of see how it came up with the rationale of why it gave on general 0.8.
Cool. So yeah, I think just from my just recent usage, the only thing that I really needed to know was like which of the input fields over here actually should be the thing that the user types in. So I think that's input prompt.
It's input prompt. Yes, that's the main one. We should really highlight that one better. Were other folks able to get as far as Dan? Dan got pretty far. Well done.
Can multiple people be doing this at the same time? I noticed when I tried to look. When I tried to look at
more than
the
two concurrent
builder,
might get blocked, Sean.
yeah, I couldn't add the assistant because Dan was using it, I assume.
Yeah.
Okay.
What was the error that you got, Tom?
I didn't get any error, but when I looked for the Copilot builder, I did not see the open up assistant. I saw copies that we had made, but I didn't see the main one that we've been using because I assumed that Dan was in there.
There is a visibility thing that does come up, which maybe we can show you guys now just to be clear on it. So if I come over here and I've got open up, if I go into saved, right, you can see this is the different ones that, you guys have been working on in your different versions. And there's this little thing that says editable versus public. And so the one that's public will actually be listed on a public site that's over here. Oops, oh, sorry, not Teacher India. So you'll see you've got this public page. So these two are publicly listed, but then the ones that are editable can be seen by other members of your group. And then if you take in, say, this system that you do here, and you go into share, you basically have the ability to make it private or view only or editable or public. And so this is where if something's not showing up that one of you have made, it's probably because you didn't share it at the right visibility level. So this is intended to be kind of like Google Docs. Generally, we're trying, at least I think at this point, you want to make everything editable across your workspace so that other people in your workspace can actually find and edit it too. Other questions?
You're muted.
This is totally unrelated and I could just text it to you, but is there a way to customize the CSS for the
widget?
web? Yeah.
Yes. There's lots of ways to do that. And so especially for you guys and so most people do that in various ways. If you go to our GitHub repo, it talks about that and like all the things you can do there. It is here, Dan. One thing actually that did come up in our conversation with Shadi that I think is just worth talking about a little bit is there's a distinction, right, between your knowledge base and the golden questions. The knowledge base is really the domain of all things that the bot should know. Whereas your golden questions are the way that we're trying to verify that the bot is giving answer to specific questions that we think are representative of the types of things users are going to commonly ask. And so they're different, right? And so in general, your knowledge base is you see it on the Copilot page and is going to be pretty big and pretty broad and can consist of any format you want. It could be PowerPoints, documents, YouTube videos, whatever. Whereas the golden question is very specific and it's a testing, thank you, Ambika, and it's a testing device to say, if the user asks this, this is what we think an ideal answer that a human being would give if they were behind the chatbot. And so, you know, as you come up with new domains of knowledge that you think the bot should know, you should just be throwing that into the knowledge base and then generally come out with one or two representative questions from that. So, you know, a good practice is if you add in a 50-page PDF of a new lessons or a healthcare guideline or something, you'll then ask 4 random questions that are the needle in the haystack across that document into your golden Q&A. And it doesn't have to be 4, it could just be 1. And so that's, I just wanted to make that clear if there, I know we use those words, but they're 2 distinct concepts. One is really the brain, and one is the testing that the brain is giving good answers.
To put a finer point on that, you don't want your golden Q&A in your knowledge base, because then you're giving it the answers to the quiz.
Yes.
Right. So that we've got this running now. Sean, I'm just going to show them how the eval tool works. This also helps if you want to just rerun the eval and you don't want to rerun the whole bulk runner and save some time and energy to just check. So we've got this tool here called Gooey.AI/eval, and I'm in a particular example called Copilot Evaluator. I'll add it to the chat. So sometimes when I feel like I have a bulk run that I'm happy with, but I felt like there was something in the evaluation which seemed a bit off, I will just copy the bulk run output that came out here and add it here to this evaluator. So basically, this is the sub tool within the bulk runner in evaluator. So what it's doing is that you've already got these outputs. You don't want a fresh set of output because LLM will always give a little bit of a different output. But what you're really looking for is to check if the evaluation is working well, or maybe you want to change out the language model for the evaluator. Maybe you want to use Claude instead of GPT-4 to evaluate whether it's doing well or not. So you can change it out here. This is very quick, and if you are really keen, and some of you have been exploring the prompting quite a bit, this is the prompt that it uses. It's quite simple. It says that, hey, your job is to assess these answers and compare it to the golden answers, and you have to give a scoring between 0 and 1. And then it has a little bit of Jinja templating here, which says that, okay, what is your rationale? Why do you feel that this model is the best? And then what is the number you're giving it between 0 and 1? And then 0 being total nonsense versus 1 being all the meanings and points are preserved, and stylistically it was similar to the golden answer. And then according to this, it just runs it for each specific one. So now what we'll do is, because we've got it for we got 2 runs that we've got here. We'll just run it again to see if the evaluation has worked okay.
So, yeah. So in general, you shouldn't need to change this, is all I'd say. Like, this is slightly more technical than most of the stuff we do. And if you don't want to touch it, you don't have to.
Yeah.
The only thing that will come up is it is important that you just call the column golden answer rather than golden answers. Right now, we're a little brittle on that. So in your Google Doc or CSV, please do call it golden answer. I've got to take my wife to the doctor, but I just wanted to show you one thing that was sort of hot off the press that I think is worth playing with, which is the IOM bot. And we did some work on them. And so I would just encourage everybody, one, to scan this if you could on your phone. This would basically will bring that up. This QR code is, you know, very flexible. We can make other ones. But this is the telephone number on WhatsApp that allows people to interact with it. And then, you know, you can also just come over here and click. And the only thing that I was going to show is we did a kind of a deeper piece in terms of, you know, some of the stuff that it can do, which is like things that you guys can know, which is one, when you come in and you sort of say hi, it will now essentially just introduce itself, say, hey, send me a text. And then it has these little buttons that basically are kind of some of the common questions. And then it's speaking out this at the same time. And so for those of folks that are working, in kind of low resource languages in particular, we found that the combination of both text and the voice piece coming back is helpful to aid understanding. I can do things here like say, in Spanish, please, right? Because it, I think, can speak one of 100 languages. And then, we get these little nice indicators now that say, great, we're going and thinking. And then if I want to put this, and then you'll notice all of the buttons and other things like that change. The only thing that I was going to bring attention to here was if you want to see kind of a more advanced prompt as you're playing with these things. And where did my tab go? Let's see if I can find it. Give me over here. Yeah. If you want to see a more advanced prompt, I'm trying to get you back. Come on, sorry guys. We have this one. And so this is an interesting prompt that you guys can share, which is, kind of has this full language support, personality. We also do things like commands. So if you do a slash, this sort of, how we do the buttons, what this flow is supposed to be. And then, how we also dealt with telephone numbers to basically give them a +26. And then, to say these should be links. So this is just a slightly more advanced kind of prompting thing. And it's the whole point is you can borrow from each other in terms of looking at these examples to make them richer in your own context. Okay, I've got to go make a doctor's run. It was a pleasure. See you guys next week, if not sooner. You guys can, especially for the folks who hadn't had it, my calendar is always available at booksean or Gooey.AI/booksean. Happy to do those sessions.
Thanks, John.
Ciao.
All the
Bye-bye.
best.
Thank you.
Ciao.
Just one quick note on follow up on that language one. Sean says, can you respond in Spanish but using English? You can actually write to it in whatever language you want to speak your language, and it will automatically switch to that language. So you don't have to prompt it in English to get it to change languages. Piece of clarification. Also, just like one thing I wanted to get a little bit in the weeds for, sorry, Ambika,
Yeah, sure.
in those responses, I think if you scroll across and it shows the scoring for each question by each different workflow. So, and this one doesn't do it as much, maybe a little bit. But the fourth question, if you keep going across. Oh, that's right. There's only two. One of the other ones was scoring 4 or 5 different iterations of the workflow. And one question in particular was low for all of them. And that might indicate that you have a problem in your knowledge base rather than the models not responding appropriately. So there's some diagnosis you can do in these where if it scores low on one question across all of them, it's probably more in the instructions or the knowledge base than it is in that particular model's or every model responding poorly to that question. I hope that helps clarify that. So another way to use this workflow.
I think once you've run it your first time, it's really useful to just go through the numbers and see if it's actually close to your responses, the golden answers, that is. And if you feel like, if even it's scored high and then you realize sometimes the question is answered in a specific way and the LLM decides that, it's perfect and it's like a 9 or a 1, but you realize that it's just given an answer which is not even relevant to it. I've kind of made a bunch of videos around this which are available here, especially in this iterate section. Whoops, I guess it's not loaded yet. I'll just send it to you on YouTube. So that will allow you to kind of update based on how you want the prompt, how you want the knowledge base to sit together and make sure that you get the right answer. And the other thing that also helps is to keep checking your Copilot in context of how your prompt improvements are working. Sometimes that really like makes a huge difference. We noticed for one client where they were getting the right answer, but it would be so lengthy that the end user would find it too verbose. So we just added the few short, and then suddenly we had answers which were not so verbose, and it immediately kind of, the retention went up really a lot.
Can you repeat what technique you used to?
Just few short. I'll just say, for example, let's just look at this particular one. Example. So here already we've added some things like, always answer within 100 words or less, or which never happens if you notice here. But say, for example, like let's look at this answer, that how do I use image trainer workflow? So right now it says specifically select training model, do this, prepare data, do that. So say, suppose I was very quickly and very roughly just use this. I say user we'll just change the test question, obviously. So maybe I wanted to just answer and give the steps, and I don't care so much about the details inside, like say step 1, do this, step 2, do that. So we can like try to, shall we say, convince the Copilot to respond with a minimum kind of answering style.
Yeah, this is, again, make it a little more clear, is if you have in mind how it should respond from a tone perspective, give it a couple of examples of exactly how you would like it to respond to different examples of questions, and then it will mimic that style in the way it responds. That's sort of the few shot.
I guess
Cool.
it didn't work, but maybe, yeah. I think it needs some kind of test.
I'm
Sorry.
consistently reminded why you recommend having sort of product people instead of engineers work on this, because it hurts my brain that there's no right answer. There's no real way to do it.
It's very it's very, very there's no science to it really. So yeah, but I feel especially for you, Dan, I think you can also look at Oliver Weiss. You can look at some of the advanced prompting tips on the OpenAI forum itself. And as I mentioned, like because so many developers are building it, there's a lot of like leaning into terminologies that are developer focused. Like they already use XML tags and they use Markdown. So I think if you like lean into that, you might find something interesting. But still, there's no real guarantee that it'll like give you the exact answer. So yeah, but I think what it's giving us is an opportunity for a lot of people to be able to quickly build, which I think earlier was a little limited. So yeah, I mean, do you have any quotes? You're almost out of time. Is there any Q&A?
For those people who do really want a deterministic answer, or regulatory compliance type things dictate a specific answer, there are techniques to make it give a specific answer.
You can also just have one document that lists all of them, and it'll just say like follow that document. Specifically, like say I want to do a simple thing like how do I delete my account on Gooey? And then I don't want it to give a vague answer. I just say fill this form and we will delete it in 10 days. So I've just added a FAQ and that has worked out well for us. So any other questions? We are a bit off on the time today.
If I'm trying to, like, based on your experience, if like a top management is asking me what is the backend data will be hosted, for not confusing them, what should I say? Like a straight, short, and comforting answer,
Oh, so we have a privacy section if that helps you. So none of your data is being trained on by any of the tools that you use. And all of that stuff is available here on our privacy page. I don't know if that helps.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, I'll just, before I think people will want to leave, so I'll just quickly tell you of what we're doing in the next session. Also, please message us if you're blocked on this session. We're going to look at agentic LLMs, the buzzword of the day. What we're going to kind of look at a little bit is how we can add functions which are written for us currently in JavaScript, but those from non-coding backgrounds, don't worry, it's not as complex as it sounds, and allow us to like get data from our own databases or like push data to a specific database. And then something simpler like just a Google search or like weather or location, all of those kind of things. For those of you, Dan and others who are a little more technical, we are using Dino, and then Dino Sandbox is the function for us. And any REST API can be used. Secrets is available as well. So you can with very low fear use secrets from other spaces that you're using. So we'll go through it a little bit. And for those who are a little more advanced, I'll try to share our documentation, which is more technical. But it is going to really superpower your bot. It's not just going to be able to just like focus on relying on the knowledge base. It's going to be able to pull data from the internet and mix it with the knowledge base. It'll, you can send a voice note and it becomes a database. All that kind of stuff is possible. So we'll do a very exciting whirlwind one on that. Wherever you're blocked, please tell us. We are happy to help you. I know sometimes the sessions can be a bit overwhelming, but we're always there. And then if you feel like you guys, sorry, this is a little bit of an off, but if you feel you want a session where you're just building and we are helping you, that's also a very, very easy possibility. Please write into us on that. And then the next session for those of you who are doing WhatsApp and IVR, we'll be looking at that as well. That will be on June the 5th. So yes, I'll send the recordings and I'll write to you guys about how things are panning out for the rest of the weeks. But I still feel like the emails are not reaching you. So I don't know how we can solve this.
I think this week it arrived on Monday, and
so
I
it
had
just
a
got
million
buried.
other emails,
Yeah,
and so
okay,
I just
no
didn't get
worries.
to it
No,
personally.
okay, so it did come. So I was just worried that it's not pushing through. So yeah, this is my son who's decided not to sleep.
Yeah, I
so
got your note at on Tuesday
okay,
for
super.
the
Yeah.
prep. Yep.
Oh, great. Yeah. So Rob, I don't know if you were in early. We've made a WhatsApp group. So if someone from your team wants to join, there's a link in the chat as well. I don't know how you guys want to manage that. City
Yeah,
team.
here's the funny thing is we would be able to read it, but we wouldn't be able to participate in it unless we could make something, some export of it part of the public record on an active basis, because of our public records laws. We'll still have to figure that one out.
Right. Okay.
But if you want to introduce your assistant director, we can say hi. What's his name?
Oh, he's Yogen. Oh, he can't hear you guys.
Okay.
Yeah. He's very much the president of the house. All right. Okay. Thank you guys. Thanks for staying on a little later. And if there's anything else, I think Nitesh and team, if your WhatsApp number is blocked, please write to us and we can try and give you a test number, which is US based. I don't know how you guys are working that out.
We should have a couple of numbers for test and prod, Ambika, by end of this week.
Excellent.
I'll circle back with you.
Okay, okay. If you want any help specifically, we can do a one-on-one at an India time also.
Perfect. Sounds good.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.